I'm Steve Young. You're watching the Letterman Podcast.
Welcome once again to the Letterman Podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. I am really excited to have Bill Shortridge on the show today. I've been wanting him for a long, long time. He has been such a great admirer and little cheerleader behind us. He would throw little things at us of encouragement and words right from the very beginning. And I just appreciate Shortridge so much for cheering us on and being a supporter of the Letterman Podcast. Bill worked for the David Letterman Show. So an NBC artist, graphics artist guy from a very, very different time. No computers, and we get into that. We get into the process of the way that they would create some of the art. But he worked for the David Letterman Show. And really exciting to talk about some of the things that he experienced working for that show, the transition over to late night. And then he also worked for Saturday Night Live and did a lot of stuff with Saturday Night Live, including something iconic. Something I always wished was on a t-shirt, and that's Eddie Murphy's Buh Weet Sings. He's the guy that designed the album for that. And we talk about that almost immediately. He sent us an amazing present. Here it is right here, but you know what? We'll let you see the episode, and you can see what he sent us to do with the Emmy Awards with the David Letterman Show. Unbelievable that he would send this for us. Really appreciate him so much. And let's just get to it. Without further ado, the Letterman Podcast is proud to welcome for the first time Bill Shortridge. Bill, I'm very, very glad that we're finally doing this. Thank you very much for taking time to not just be part of the Letterman Podcast, but you've actually, you've sent some stuff. We're going to go through some things together. We've got a present here that we're gonna open together that I haven't seen yet. I've only just now, before the miracles of Zoom technology turned on, I've just dislodged it so I can get into it. But it's been sitting here for a week, and I've been wondering what it is. Bill Shortridge, thank you so much for taking time to come on the Letterman Podcast.
Well,
today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great. Getting to know Mark Karzan has been a lot of fun, and some of the other people that worked with you guys, with you and Pook and Ed and whatnot. I just had Donnick Carey on, and Donnick told me to make sure that I give you his highest regards.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, you and he ended up at NBC together, and you ended up somewhere else together. I want to get into that in a minute here, but there's a lot of regard out there for you and the work that you guys did. Thank you so much for your contributions to this thing. Does it surprise you that people are still talking about this stuff all these years later?
I was watching the Band of Brothers. It reminds me of that. You're talking to all the original guys that were out there, in the firing line, and it's that, when we were doing it, it was just damn fun, and you knew it was cool, but there were other things going on, and the focus was really on the work, and then you had the parties, and then you watched the show, and at the time though, it was just it was a job, and you did the best work you can in the shortest amount of time. Yeah.
Let's get into what the job entailed. You were a graphics guy back in a time where graphics were completely different.
No computers.
Art was complete. It was a different animal entirely. Let's talk a little, and you worked for NBC. So let's talk a little bit about what you did for them, when you got the gig, and what your job description was.
Well, before NBC, I was an illustrator and graphics designer, and I was hired at NBC to do illustrations for this kind of internal manual that covered like every department. I don't think it ever got printed. I don't know what, but it gave me, I was there 18 hours a day working on this thing with this guy, Bruce, can we say names? It's okay.
Sure, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, Bruce Bassett, I believe. It was Babbitt or Bassett. I think it was Bassett. Yep. And this guy would lumber all the way up to the 16th floor or something. And then I would be waiting for the changes, and he would come down about 3.5 hours later and give me these ridiculous changes. But it was there, and it was right across from Pook's office.
Yep.
So one night, Saturday Night Live was starting, and he said, "You want to do some work for this too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it'd be great," you know. And I forget what it was. I don't know what the first project was.
Mhm.
But after that, I just kind of made the transition. And when that book went away, it was full on SNL. And then the morning show came, and I was just at the right place at the right time, really. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get to the morning show. We're going to get to early Saturday Night Live. I do want to do a little bit of a spoiler here and start with something else that just, when I realized this was you, it absolutely blew me away. I don't know if you can see that now,
Oh,
if the audience can see that,
yeah.
but oh my, you talk about iconic right
Yeah.
there. You know, obviously you've been doing the job for a while now, because we've gone through an incarnation where the cast leaves and the next cast shows up, the Lorne Michael less Saturday Night Live, but Eddie Murphy shows up there, and Buh Weet Sings might be one of the most iconic Eddie Murphy sketches on SNL. And like growing up, I remember wanting this on a t-shirt, wishing that this existed on a t-shirt. This is you. You did this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's just there's a process. You go into the NBC archives.
Yep.
And they've got all kinds of photographs there. So you bring it out and you put it on. There was this mural paper, I think it was called, where you can apply any kind of medium to it. So those we would send the photo out, get the print back to size, trim it or whatever we had to do, and then you apply tints or any kind of type treatment, or you know, to make it look like a real album cover. I mean, I don't know how real that album cover looks, but it did the job, you know.
Didn't he hold it? Like, didn't he actually? I don't know if he held it or if it went to a shot. I should have watched the sketch. Darn it! I just remember when he announces Buh Weet Sings. When he announces it, he either puts it up or it just moves over to the graphic, and immediate pop from the audience. Just now at that point,
people wanted to buy it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A nice little piece of business in that one. He did Wookin' Panub. I forget the second one, and the third one, it was Betty Davis eyes, but instead of like the way that they did the gag was, it was Wookin' Panub, and then they put in graphics underneath it, a subtitle of Looking for Love.
Right. Yeah.
The third one was Betty Davis eyes, but the subtitle was just a bunch of question marks, and it was just a genius. I don't know who wrote that, but that was a genius piece of business there.
You know, the first time I met Eddie Murphy, Pook had to break us up, because he came down. I didn't know who he was, and I'm just working on the show. It's like 2:00 Friday morning, and I've got my tunes on my boom box, you know, one of those boom boxes, and I'm into the work trying to get it done, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my boom box volume to 10. And it was so jarring, because you're in the mood, and I turn around, it's this guy, it's Eddie Murphy, but I don't know who this guy is. So we started going back and forth, and Pook heard us and came out, and that's how I met Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't talk much to each other. Yeah.
That's really fun. Was that the first piece of business you did with Eddie? Was that the first, or was there other stuff as well?
Well, it was Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. You know, we did we did everything, you know, from that period.
Yep.
So it was Gene Dominion came in after Lorne Michaels, and then it was
wasn't Dick? Wasn't it Ebersol himself?
Dick Ebersol. Yeah. And Pook and I went up to. It's a terrible story, but it was funny, and we were dying, but. Jean Dominion calls Pook and I up. She wanted to meet everybody so we go all the way up, I think 18th floor or something. And we sit down, and she starts talking to us, because Pook's been around for a while, so he's kind of a legend. And she leans back in her chair, and the chair goes back. All you see from behind the desk are her 2 feet, her heels sticking up. We had to go pick her up. And,
here's your new showrunner right here.
Huh? Yeah, there's a new showrunner. That's right. Yeah.
That's a great story. So by this point, you're well established. You're into the groove. You understand the hours and the lifestyle and all of that stuff. Let's go back to when you got there and to Saturday Night Live early on, the morning show. Working in the iconic 30 Rock. I mean, you go into 30 Rock now. Of course, inside it's completely different. Once you get into the upper floors, but the lobby, the entranceway, the building itself, broadcast history.
Oh my
Did you
God,
have
yeah.
did you have any pinch me moments?
Oh yeah, plenty. I mean, you realize the people who walk through those halls. I mean, to stand there during a taping and all of a sudden you realize this is Sophia Loren walking 3 feet away from you, or whoever it was, Don King.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at his hair with my eyeballs. It's like all this stuff was happening around you. When I met Bob Hope one night, and I went up to get an autograph from him, and just as he was about to sign, the doors open up. He was going to walk on, so it freaked him out. And there's Giller must have it someplace, but you could see me. And when I came out, I was adamant. I'm like, I'm just going to get his autograph. I'm going to have him sign this. So I show him these photographs, and I just stuck it in front of his face. He grabbed me by the arm. He goes, "Come here." We go into his dressing room, and I realize it's me and Bob Hope in a 6x9 room or however big that, And he told me all about the suit that he was wearing in this photograph from the 30s. It was really cool. I mean, that's the kind of, you sit there and you're like, oh my God, this happened today, Yeah.
It's
pretty cool.
Well, and to go back to early Letterman, the one thing that fascinates me about early Letterman stuff, and it as early as the morning show, you had this mix of these upstart, we don't know what we're doing, to borrow a phrase, not ready for prime time player type mentality, but then completely Platoed together with showbiz royalty and people who had reverence for old show business, was a part of old show business. You got your Hal Gurney, Jack Rollins, you got these icons who are there. And the mixture of the two, to me, is really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, it was just, the dotted line of all these lives came together at this place, and they're all incredibly talented people, and everybody got along.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so nice. I've worked on a lot of different shows, and man, it's not that nice. It's like a family.
Yep.
So that's what was cool about that. Everybody just loved each other.
Would you say the
love might be a strong word, but
well, no. Yeah. There's a lot of that. It's a family. Like, we talk about it like it's a family. I certainly do. And it certainly feels that way. And by the way, everything that comes with a family comes along with that.
Yeah. There's some baggage. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like brothers and sisters, it ain't always rosy, and that certainly can be an apt description for the team that was there. But there also was that blood is thicker than water loyalty that was there as well, and it was fascinating. It's a fascinating group, and all of the eras of the groups, certain writers left at a certain time, certain classes within the show and its legacy. It's fascinating to go through those layers. You were there at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
I think
the first writer I did a piece of art for was Andy Breckman.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the first one. It was kind of a takeoff on Goofus and Gallant.
Yep.
And I did a really accurate portrayal of, they wrote the bits, but they didn't think it worked. So he wanted more of a comic book look, and that's when Arlen Schumer came on board. Right,
Arlen Schumer. I forgot to add him to the team as well. I mean, and when it comes to comic books and all of that, Arlen, that's the perfect guy. That's the perfect guy to add to that. Okay, so SNL, early days of SNL, was that one of the main things that you were working on, and was it hard to get used to the lifestyle and the hours?
The lifestyle was already there. I was staying up till 2, and you get up, as late as you can.
Yep.
But living in New York, I'd get a phone call at 3 in the morning and say, "We're down at Florent. Let's," and you get up and go. So the lifestyle was there.
Yep.
It's just the schedule to make the work, because you'd have the read through. I think it was Tuesday.
Yep.
and then Pook would come down and we'd do a game plan. And then you start Wednesday, it starts ramping up. And now think about it, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Saturday is just everybody's working with these pieces. So you watch rehearsal and you see if it works. And if it doesn't work, you make a call to the studio or they call us or whatever it was. But it was tight, 4 days to do that. I mean, that wasn't even the biggest part. You look at like Akira Yoshimura and Keith Raywood and those guys, what they did with sets.
Yeah,
That's monumental. It's like building a city in 4 days every week.
absolutely. Well, and
Yeah.
music, costumes, the whole
Oh,
nine yards,
yeah,
like just how
yeah.
everything would come together. Insane. Did you do a lot of weekend update stuff?
Yeah, whatever the graphics were behind them.
Yep.
I remember
Yep.
one, I don't know why I remember this. It was called Shortridge in Switzerland. And it was a really complex graphic that took a full day to do with back and forth and back and forth. But all that graphics, the over-the-shoulder graphic stuff for the talking heads, that we did all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Even set pieces too. If they needed some kind of a graphic for a wall, you do it to scale, and then they just have the painters translate it to the wall.
Wow. That's
Yeah, it was cool.
yeah, that's some like again, far out stuff and leading technology for its time in television. Like that's the thing. You were at the cusp of all the cutting edge stuff for a while. You rode that wave for a while.
Well, I was
job,
at the
go ahead.
I was at the graphics department when they got their first fax machine.
Yeah.
So that's, that was like, really? You can do that? Feeding like a Xerox. Yeah.
So SNL, was that the main thing that you did until the morning show came along?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it kept
And
you
then the
busy.
morning show, there was also a guy named Frank Alois.
Yep.
Who did a lot of those bumpers as well that nobody talks about, but that guy he was with NBC since the early 50s with my dad. My dad was at NBC too. And he did a lot of these great illustrations for the bumpers. I'm sure Don can come up, but you'd see it's more of a pen and ink and wash. It's a different, like my style is kind of chunky.
Yeah.
With those graphics, they were like big thick lines and a little bolder, and his were a little more finessed, his drawings, and so you could see the difference.
Well, and we'll get into that here. I'm gonna definitely show some examples of some of the things that you did. But when the morning show came along, do you remember the early days when the previous show or executive producer, I guess they call them showrunners now, but the executive producer that had come in and didn't have the same vision that Dave and Meryl had? Did you see much of that?
No,
Okay.
I was removed from that stuff.
So when you came in, Barry Sand was already kind of installed, and
Yeah.
who did you interact with, in those early days? Was it with Barry directly, or was it with another staffer that was in charge of kind of your section, your part of the store?
No, it's usually Ed Hall was the liaison, the basic liaison. He would come back. He knew how both places worked. He was really well versed. I mean, he went out on all the shoots. And so he would come in with the project, or sometimes the writer would just come down, whoever the writer was, and just come. Jerry used to come down. I mentioned Andy, Sandy Frank, and Joe Toplin. Yeah, it was, I mean, my brain, I can't think of everybody.
No. It's all good. But this gives a good indication though, because a lot of the time working directly with the writers saying, hey, we got an idea for a piece here, and this is the graphic that we'll need for it. Like you're dealing directly with them, not with like a head writer type character.
Yeah. It was unique. Yeah. It was
Did
Saturday
you?
Night Live. The writers came down once in a while.
Yeah.
But not as often, because I think a lot of people too were enamored with the whole graphics thing.
Yeah.
It's like, this place makes magic. Look at that. Look at that thing over there. It's like all this artwork was in various stages being created as they would come down, and some would come down. It'd be next thing you'd see a finished piece of artwork, and it blew people away. Yeah. It was
What
fun.
was your office like? Was there more than one person in there? Did you have a big drawing table in there as well? Was it a department where it was kind of workstations and you all kind of
You,
worked together?
you had a giant table in the middle
Yep.
where you could do big pieces, and all around that were the offices.
Gotcha.
So, you just go in and out. But the office, in my office, I had Frank Alois was in the office, and they put us there because we were both working on that morning show. So they
Yep.
kind of try to organize the human.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
The morning show showing up, did that disrupt your schedule very, very much? Because you had been on a Saturday Night Live kind of a timetable. That's the majority of your work. Suddenly, this show that is live, or essentially, that's early morning now, and
Yeah.
and you're a part of it. Did that change your timetable very much?
Yeah, but I was usually after the show, we were going out anyway,
Right.
so I was just tired all the time, but I had a lot of fun. You go down to a mud club or something, I didn't go to all the Saturday Night Live parties. I had another circle that I hung with.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I mean, I think that there's so much fascination with New York at that time. It's so whimsical to hear the idea that I think it was Aykroyd and Belushi that had their own little hole in the wall after party spot, right? Did you ever go there?
No.
You never
No.
went there. Okay. Heard
No,
about
that
it
was
though?
before my time. That was
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple stories that I've heard, but since they're hearsay,
Okay.
probably shouldn't.
We'll tell them on the phone.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. How about a couple of the stories that you feel comfortable telling from SNL after parties? I mean, they're legendary. I don't know, were they less legendary after Lauren left, or no, they kept on trucking on that.
Well, they were legendary, but you weren't there with, you were there with that, that cast, and I didn't
Yep.
know a lot of the cast. They came in, they're like, they were all new,
Yep.
And I mean, even at the time, Joe Piscopo was, and Eddie Murphy, like I said, I didn't know who he was, so you go to the after party and oh, he was the guy on TV, just a little, got it. Okay. I didn't know his name. I forget his name, but yeah.
Was there a lot of pressure at that point working for the show?
I think if you stepped back a little bit, you would feel it, but I don't remember feeling any pressure. I mean, once in a while you rush, like we saw that graphic with the Steinbrenner thing, that was like a rushed graphic, and it really doesn't work because everything is kind of the same tone.
Yep.
The contrast isn't there, for TV to pick it up. And so it was just that kind of thing. It's like, we're going to tape in 20 minutes. This thing has to be fixed,
Just it's too fast paced to have pressure. You just gotta.
That's right.
Go.
You just keep going. Yeah. Yeah. And then it gets
pedal
tough.
down.
Yeah.
We've had Carson on the show, of course.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the bumpers on late night.
Yeah.
Obviously that was an evolution, because I mean, I would say that there were definitely humorous elements to late night's bumpers, but the morning show, a lot of the bumpers were flat out jokes. They were just a joke that would be thrown out there, a one card joke, whatever you want to call it, a one frame joke. And we're going to get into some of the ones that you did here, but before we do, I'm just curious, do you remember the decision being made to insert jokes into the bumpers? I mean, famously with Johnny's bumpers would be whatever a graphic and then more to come. When the morning show showed up, it's like, no. We're gonna take that element and we're gonna make it into something and spin it. Do you remember the decision to make that? Made that?
Well, no, they would just send the title of the bumper down, right? So Know Your Doorknobs, I think, was one. And they would just send that down, and then I would come up with the visual.
I want to go through some of those right now, if that's okay with you. I want to show the audience, and we'll for the YouTube audience, you're going to be able to see all these things.
That's my favorite pop-up book.
That pop-up. Okay, so that's a comedy piece right there that we're looking at.
Isadora Duncan, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so like this is a bumper in between commercials here.
Right. So they always had the "You Should Know" was a title. We already had that set up, right? So you can stamp. It was called hot press. You would press it onto the board, and then they would just send down "Bus terminal lockers make great weekend guest rooms." So then I come up with that visual.
So there it is. Your job is to interpret the joke and then translate it visually, and
Yeah.
hopefully you can take the words and make it even more humorous. Everybody's happy there, that's for sure. You know,
Well, they're make great guest rooms.
they're great. Yeah, they are. They're clearly great. I love this one. This one here is one that I remembered because it had circulated around. It's just such. Just love
So this you see the right side as you're looking at it. You see his hair kind of is like a strange cut. It's
Yep.
like just so that's where the camera would go in and crop, and he would be coming off the screen or off from the right.
Yep.
But that camera would crop that edge off of him and come into 3x4.
And that's how that. Okay. Love that one. I gotta ask O'Donnell if he remembers who. Oh no, I guess O'Donnell would have been there at that point. Jerry might be the
Yeah,
only
he was
guy who
there.
might. Oh, Steve O'Donnell was there for the morning show.
Steve,
I think he showed up early late night. So
I think
Jerry
you're right.
Mulligan might be the only one who. That's
Yeah, I think you're
it's
right.
such a funny turn of phrase. Like one of your aunts is your cousin's mother is such a Letterman turn of phrase. Like it's worded so well. And here's your handles.
Oh, there
right
it is.
here. Yeah. Again, just a little strange.
Well, it's good to know.
This guy. Look at that guy.
He's eager.
He is.
But
That's
see,
the
this
guy.
is-
See, that's what you're trying. Okay, what does a guy who would buy a burnt out light bulb look like?
Yeah,
You know, that's what you got to solve, right?
he's into it. Right? He's a collector.
Oh yeah, he is into it. He is
Like he's
into it.
been. It's like a record. If you go back, it's like a record collector. You know, it's like finally after 40 years, I found this record. But you can see now these are all the way we did this. This is all cut out paper.
Yep.
So if you see his button, that's a little piece of paper. That's his collar, his head. That's just cut out and put on that background.
Okay, so let's go
The
through
green
the
board.
exact. Yeah, so let's go through the exact process. So the green board is there. The helpful hint is a stamp, right? Or it's something
Yeah,
you
hot
use-
press called
hot press, hot
Yeah.
press, right? Okay. Same with the text down below as well.
Yes.
Okay, and then what you draw the hand with the light bulb or the guy with the fiver. You draw that
Yeah.
on just a white piece of paper and then cut it
Yeah.
out and put it over top and just put it all
And
together like that.
Just adhere it to the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no such thing as Photoshop or
No.
Adobe. There was no Adobe back then. I don't know if they
Right.
were around or not, but
No.
Xerox barely was.
So this kind of threw everybody. I didn't think it was gonna go, but it did.
Just because it was guys? Like, okay, so that's my question.
Yeah.
Vinyl boots are back in style.
Yeah.
Okay. Who makes the decision to make it guys? Is
Well,
that you? Is that just going, okay, this will be fun?
I did that, and I remember Jerry. I think this was Jerry's.
Mulligan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whoever the writer was came down and looked at me and said, "Are you kidding? Really?" And I said, "Well, I could do it again. I'll make them pretty women or something. You know." And it went. He took it upstairs, and it was fine. Dave liked it. So.
Oh, it's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Another helpful hint.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good practice.
Sure. Absolutely. You want to make sure the ones that the flies that land on your food are clean. Okay. And so now, and then the next stuff is comedy pieces. So I'll stop the share for now, and then we can get into a couple of the comedy pieces that you did, because those are like the pop-up book we previewed that earlier. That's another piece entirely. How many of those bumpers do you think you did?
Oh God, I, I don't know. You could probably figure it out by the shows. At four. How many shows were there?
Yeah, was it 6 weeks
Four
worth or
four
whatever it was?
times.
Or...
Some they used over and over again. But
Yeah.
that's I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, but you did quite a few of them. Like that's just a smattering of
There's
what
a
we showed,
ton
right?
of work that came out of that graphics department. I'm telling you, I can't. I wish I saw it all lined up.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that would be cool to have that kind of that legacy shot in your mind
Oh yeah.
of seeing everything. That would be really, really cool.
I mean, Pook
Now,
everybody down there did amazing work. Yeah.
yep. And you guys were recognized for that a bunch of times too, right?
Yeah.
You guys were decorated. Let's
Yeah.
talk about some of the recognition you guys got back then.
You've got an envelope there that is
Okay.
perfect for that. Yeah.
Is this good? This is good timing?
Yeah, it should be a good time.
All right.
We
I've been
were
curious about this all
nominated
week.
twice.
Oh, okay. So
There you go.
oh, I got
You can take
goosebumps
that
right now.
tissue off.
I'm going to. Holy smokes. Okay. So you were nominated twice for Emmys.
Right. One was for the daytime and one was for the prime time. For late
And
night.
what's the category? Best art direction in a variety show?
Yeah, it says it in there. You got all that stuff in your hand.
Oh my God. Oh, I got goosebumps right now. Okay. This will be interesting. Let's see if YouTube lets us show the Emmy statuette. I think it'll be okay. So it's a folder
Yeah.
with the Emmy statue in gold.
There's some stuff in there too, so it could slide out. So the original telegram that we got for the morning show is on your desk right now.
Oh, we got goosebumps.
Western
right now, Bill.
Union telegram. Is it?
There's a telegram right there. Mailgram.
Mailgram.
Mailgram. Congratulations. The National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences is pleased to advise you that you've been nominated for a 1980-1981 Daytime Emmy Award for the David Letterman Show. Outstanding individual achievement in any area of creative, technical, crafts, graphic design. The winners will be announced during a special cocktail party of the awards presentation on Tuesday, May 19th at 6 p.m. at the Copacabana.
Yeah, it was at the
Oh my
Copa.
God, it was at the Copa. Tell me you went to that party.
So, we went to that. It was Pook and I, and we were up against, we weren't up against everybody. It was all daytime soap operas and game shows, and you saw Susan Lucci, and I think the host of I like the host of the primetime Emmys. I forget who they were, but they're in there. And you see, it was just great to be in the Copacabana with this cast of characters. It was so fun.
Oh my God, here's the are you
Yeah, I
kidding
kept
me?
it all. Yeah, I don't know why. People do. Is that the ticket?
The ticket for the Emmys right there.
So you can get in. They don't know what I look like. They won't remember. No problem.
Oh my God, and I can't thank you enough for this. And then there's the
You got to send it back.
invitation card. I gotta send it back. Okay,
I'm kidding. Yeah, that's right.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so
I
much.
see that's the map. So NBC flew us out to LA for the primetime Emmys. That was the map they enclosed in the instructions. Yeah, there you go.
There's what the app used to look like, everybody. No such thing as a GPS or a Garmin. Garmin is even dating myself. That is unbelievable. And then so this is the program from the Emmys.
Right. So the morning show is just me and Pook.
Yeah.
But at the primetime Emmys, it was me, Pook, and Arlen Schumer. So we went out there. I think I sent you a picture of the three of us.
Would you have emailed me that?
I think so.
Okay, I gotta see if I can find that one. I'm gonna throw it up. I'll throw it up right now for everybody else to see in the show.
But that night oh yeah, look at that. That's the bumper sticker for our car, so we can park.
An Emmy Award nominee right there. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is cool. Incredible. Incredible. And did you guys win for anything?
No, in fact, the primetime Emmys. So the guy comes to us. We sit down. We're at our table, and we were at a table with another graphics guy from some documentary on submarines or something. I don't know. But the Emmy people come over to me and Pook and Arlen, and they said, "Could you come with us?" And they canceled our category. They just didn't. We're not going to award this category because there were only the two people the two teams nominated.
Right.
Were at our table. There was nobody else. Like, well, why, what? So they canceled it. They didn't even entertain that category.
That's a bunch of bullshit. That's what that is.
It was.
It's a bunch
so
of
that
bullshit.
night, during the day, we were running around, and we hooked up somehow. I forget. I think it was Pook that hooked up with. I go get drinks, and I go back to the lobby, and there's Pook yucking it up with like 8 motorcycle gang members. And I thought it was odd, and I sat down, and we got along with these guys. It was fun, And so just before we went up to my room, I forget why, but we went up to the room, and then I said, "Well, guys, we got to go because I got to get ready, for the event." And so they leave, and I go to the award ceremony, and I get back about 12:30, and my door has a piece of tape on the lock. And I go in, and all those 8 guys are in my room sleeping. And I'm trying to wake them up, and I can't wake them up, or they're just ignoring me. So I went down to the lobby, and I was going to sleep there, but they wouldn't let me. And then I think I woke Pook up, and I ended up sleeping in his chair. Yeah. But it was a fun trip. It was pretty cool. That was my first trip to LA, too. Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the bowels of New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, North Central. If you cut New Jersey in half, right dead center.
The Garden State. Excellent.
Yeah.
Did you and attended fine arts university?
I went to a Newark School of Fine and Industrial Arts. That's where I studied illustration, and then I would do courses at SVA and Art Students League. And various, there were some groups that, life drawing, that kind of thing. So it was but I hit the ground running before I was out of school. I scored my first gig in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
Did you and Meryl connect? Because she went to art school as well. That was where her and I love the stuff she's doing now. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the stuff that she's doing now on her Substack, but lots of graphic novel type stuff. She's using illustration very, very well, in a graphic novel type state, but only like a page worth. You got a page here and like there to illustrate some of her amazing writing. She's an unbelievable writer, obviously. And so she is using a lot of that. Did you two ever connect over art?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I'm
just finding out about it now.
That's where she came in for.
That's a shame.
I was super curious about that. By the way, here's another thing. Teaches you how to tie a bow tie. The instructions to tying a bow tie, which could have been done by you. That could have been
That could have easily been a bumper. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But that wasn't in the package. I'm just sending it to you because I think you can spruce up a little bit. That's all.
Well, I need. Oh God.
Yeah.
Steve Weiner. It tells me all the time. I should do the. I'm not so sure about the jacket with the T-shirt. I'm not so sure about that, Mike.
No, it looks good. You look good.
This is incredible. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. And we're gonna start. And by the way, let's talk about this here real quick as well. I love that. I love artists and hanging out with them because of the quirks. And the eccentricities and the things that inspire. You never know what's going to inspire and what's going to make somebody go down a path and create something. Visual artists, in particular, do that. So you gave me this just before Christmas, and this was part of a project that you did, and I'm super curious about this postcard project. Can you talk a little bit about it?
I just I sent it out there just on Facebook, and I said, "Who wants I'm going to do random portraits of postcards with random portraits on it. Who wants one?"
Yeah.
And I got 44 people saying that they wanted a postcard. and three of them just for no reason other than, oh, here's one that I can draw, was
Yeah.
like you. And I think I did my friend Enid, and there was one more, but I forget who.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
it
three
won't.
of us got self-portraits, and everybody else got a rando of some sort, something that just came out of your head.
Yeah.
And you did 42 of those. You did 42 random ones or whatever it was.
44. Yeah.
44. Okay. So
Yeah.
what caused that? A postcard like this, really, really, really good, obviously. I mean, the amazing skill. How long does this take you?
They're, a few hours, a couple hours, maybe. Yeah. Some take longer than others. It depends on my frame of mind,
What
how
inspired
focused
it?
I am.
What inspired it? Just to see how many people did you expect 40 some odd people to say, or
Well,
did you expect less?
I did a portrait of I draw a lot,
Yep.
sketchbooks and stuff. And I just did a portrait of somebody who I knew, and I was really like, I have lost my chops here. It looked
Ah,
awful. I'm like, I have to practice again. I got to
yep,
keep going.
yep.
And so I just sent it out there. I don't know how I thought of it or what, but just random.
It was great it was a great exercise, and it was really neat. And on your Facebook there is uh there's a really quick flutter going through the whole thing, going through
Oh,
all
that's
of
right.
them.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. There was a couple that I thought looked like people. One in particular I thought looked like David Bowie, but I wasn't sure. Um
No, didn't do
no,
Bowie.
it's
I'll do Bowie if you want, but
no. I just that was one of the ones that I saw, and I was like, oh, there's some that looks recognizable to me. Um, who are some of the people that inspired you? I look at your stuff and I'm thinking, okay, I could see like there being like political cartoon type stuff. Like I could see you being a contemporary of someone like Bill Watterson, the Calvin and Hobbes
yeah.
and things like that. Were there a lot of like Schultz, things like that inspired you? Is that why you got into the game?
I go back to the early part of the 20th century with J.C. Leyendecker and N.C. Wyeth and Howard Pyle and those guys. But then you come back up and you got like Kobe Whitmore and the more of the Norman Rockwell generation. But you've
Yep.
got all these guys that like 50s, Saturday Evening Post. You look at the Saturday Evening Post, and every week there was a masterpiece on that magazine cover.
Yep.
And those are the guys that, I mean, all the ads, there were no photos, there were no, until the 60s came along, but everything else was illustrated.
Yep.
And so that's the stuff that really, we used to go to when we were in school, we used to take a trip, and they still do this, the Illustrator Society in New York City. I think it's 52nd Street, I think. But they would have two shows a year, and one was advertising, one was editorial.
Hmm.
And you would go in and there's a Frank Frazetta right there on the wall, or any of these masterpieces, Mark English or Bob Peak and all these incredible artists. And that was in the 70s.
Yep.
But so that's what really inspired me. But as far as TV, my dad used to take us in when we were kids.
Yeah.
The graphics department early on was down on 18th Street,
Hmm.
and they moved it up to, I guess they did it in the mid 60s, or yeah, I think the late 60s they moved it up to Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
But he would take me in all the time, and I would see how this worked, and then he takes us to the studio, and I met Lamb Chop in person, by the way. That, yeah. And Jimmy Dean, there was a Jimmy Dean show,
Yep.
and he took us in, and Ralph, the first Muppet, we met Ralph,
Yep.
and I have a Ralph signature, which should be good. It should be worth it. But yeah, so those two angles of influence are what
Yeah.
inspired me. I mean, everything I love what I do. It's like an amazing thing to do.
I look back at we've had a few people on the show who have expressed this sentiment. Back then, TV and production it kind of was for a lot of people a family business. There's a lot of folks who are
That's right.
second and third generation, and
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's a cameraman, you know,
Yeah.
like or like in this case here, an artist, or in the graphics department, the visual
Right.
department, hosts, for goodness sakes. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it seems that there's a lot of folks who carried on the family, the family business, the family tradition. You were just mesmerized by it, watching your dad. You just loved watching him go to work and seeing the things that he did.
Well, yeah, but then he would like Charlie Biro, which was he's one of the most he's the guy that developed Daredevil. You
Yeah.
know, he had all these was it Marvel? Was Daredevil Marvel?
Yeah, Daredevil is Marvel,
Right?
absolutely. Yep.
So he was there, and he did a portrait of my brother. He didn't have time to do it for me, but you go and you see these things. And I watched this, and maybe if you're not an artist, you don't know the name, but most artists know who Charlie Biro is. And there I am sitting watching him do a portrait of my brother. That's like Bernie Wrightson or Frank Frazetta.
Yep.
You know, it's like he was right there,
Yep.
and that's the stuff that rubbed off on me. And then Pook, you know, it's like when I was still in art school when my dad brought me in, and I sat there with Pook, and I was just watching him how to do it, you know.
Mhm.
And he's working on the Tomorrow Show. So he goes, well, why don't you do a couple pieces? So I did my very first, hold it, I have it right here. I was going to get them framed. You want to see them?
Yes. Are
All
you
right,
kidding
so
me?
these are the very first pieces I've done for television. They're kind of dusty, I guess.
And it's for Tom Snyder's Tomorrow Show.
Yeah, so there's that. I've got it wrapped,
Oh,
protected. There you go.
we got to take a picture of that and send it to Anne Marie Snyder. She will get a huge,
I think I
huge
did.
kick out of it. Did
I
you
think
send it
I
to her?
did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Send it to Annie.
I may,
That's
at
fantastic.
least I wanted to. That's one.
Yeah.
So this was in 1976. It was for the bicentennial. And there's the other one.
Wow.
Right. So that's all just cut out paper, you know.
Yep.
And the stars are hot pressed, and Tomorrow is hot pressed.
Now, back then, you do a piece of art for something, it gets used and then discarded. You get, as the artist, just get to take it home. Has that changed over the years?
Yeah, when they shot it, Pook gave it to me, or he sent it home with my dad, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool that you would have that still. And
Well,
I mean,
it was just coincidence too, because Sonny Hansen, who was the producer back then,
yep.
he came down, and Pook's like, "Hey, this guy," he introduced us. He's like, "Look what he did." He goes, "Well, let's use him," and they used him. That's how it happened. Pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
super, super, super cool. And the fact that you, same with Carson too, he's got so many of his bumpers, and I'm so grateful that that is the case, that the artist actually gets to hang on to it and it doesn't just become the property of the machine that you're feeding.
Well, that's yeah, I don't know. I'm really thrilled that Mark was able to swing that, because I remember Arlen tried to take his art,
Yep.
and they gave him a hard time. I don't know if he ever walked out with it or not,
Oh,
but
interesting.
they gave him a hard time.
Oh,
I
that
think
is so,
yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be interesting. I should ask him, because yeah, he should have.
Did
He's such a good
humor,
artist. Oh,
well, Arlen, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did humor enter your art immediately? Like, was there always stuff that you would do that would be for, that would be with a slice to it, or a take on it, a hot, humorous take? Or is that something that was the assignment, and so you developed that skill?
yeah, I've always done stuff when I was younger. You know, I think that's what helped me fit in. You know, that I didn't take too much too seriously. You know?
Yep. It was just,
What's
yeah,
the sense?
you liked the askew. Did you find the morning show strange?
I was excited. It was my first TV job.
Yep.
Really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that other job they brought me in for was not a TV job. It was a book, you know, Gutenberg Bible, basically, that
Yep.
guy.
Yep.
But it was so exciting to me, you know, and I think the first person I met on the show was Marie O'Donnell,
Hmm.
who was Dave's assistant
Yep.
at the time.
Yep.
And Darcy, and yeah, there's just
Did you know Barbara Gaines?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love those guys. And Jude,
Yep.
Yeah, it's Kathy Vasapoli and geez, I can't. Yeah, so many people.
She married well.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
I
Yeah,
know what's his name.
yeah, that's
The
right.
bald guy. Yeah, it's Paul Schaefer's wife we're talking about. Everybody.
Yeah, you should get that fixed. Yeah.
Okay, and
Great,
then
but everybody was so sweet on that show. Like Kathleen Anchors. They're all
oh
geniuses too. That's the on top of that,
yeah.
incredibly talented people.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the reason why we do this show is because, again, as far as I'm concerned, and many who would say the same thing, David Letterman is the most gifted broadcaster that we've ever seen. He can
Yeah,
effortlessly go from a communicator, from something incredibly serious to lighthearted to hilarious. The curiosity that he has. I mean, just an incredible broadcaster. But this show isn't just about that. It's about the greatest body of broadcast work in history, that of David Letterman and company. And the
yeah,
company we're talking top shelf,
yeah,
whatever department they were, whether it was art, whether it was writing, whether it was music, Paul and the band, unbelievable at just everybody at the highest level. Producers were producing at the highest levels.
that's right.
And,
Yeah,
and that's why we do this show. It's, and the DNA of it, so much of the DNA that made it to the end was there at the very beginning. Like you mentioned,
right.
a bunch of people there who made it,
Yeah,
a huge way into the run or to the very end of the run, Barbara and Jude, to the very, very end. I'm super curious when you saw the product and how different it was for something that had ever been on at that time of day, or really in many respects, different from anything that's ever been on. Did you have any commentary at that point going, oh, this isn't going to last very long? Or was it just so balls to the wall that you had no time to even think about that?
I thought it was right from the beginning. I knew Letterman was a little different because his Pook designed his stationery.
Yeah.
I think it was right, and I remember he wanted a coffee ring. Like you put your coffee mug down. So he had that printed on his stationery. And it was just, I'm like, oh, good. We finally have there's somebody here that's got a sense of humor. I mean, other than just plain jokes, this
Yeah.
guy really, the irony, and it's, yeah. So I was shocked when it was canceled, actually.
You were okay. So
Yeah.
that was what I was gonna. That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna ask. It was
Yeah.
shocking to you because well, and I mean the quality of the work speaks for itself. I don't know how many folks that come out of the woodwork, Conan O'Brien, being one of them, who
Yeah.
remember the morning show
Yeah.
and just zeroed in on it immediately as
Right.
something that is completely different, completely original, and wildly entertaining. People felt that way about it, but it didn't hit the general. It wasn't pop music, and it needed to be
Yeah. I
pop
wonder
music
if,
that time of the day.
do you know what the viewership was? I have no
It wasn't very high. I
Yeah.
know that they
Yeah.
were pretty excited about game shows after. I believe they did 3 game shows right after it.
Right. Right.
But that being said, like you said, the pieces were all in place. It was just a matter of how we executed. Before we go to late night, did you have many encounters with Dave at the morning show? Did you
No.
have any encounters with him at all?
Zero.
Zero. There it
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Yeah. I was just a hired hand.
Yeah.
There was it wasn't like I wasn't up there on the 14th floor. I think it was 14th floor.
Yeah.
Right?
14.
Yeah.
And like you said, Ed Hall was the liaison, right?
Right.
So he's a guy that I'm trying to get on the show here. We've talked a little bit. We've exchanged a couple emails back, and it was when the timing is right. And you know what? Now that we've had you on here, I think we got to nudge him again and see.
You should, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to have Ed on here very,
Yeah.
very much. So, because he's got a story unto himself, like, working for Late Night the way they did, moving over, working for Jay, coming back and doing some stuff. Ed's got a fascinating tale inside of this larger story.
Yeah, I had a few nights with Ed. Yeah.
We just let that trail off.
That's
We'll
we'll
just let that trail off. Okay, so the show is canceled. You just basically, you're an NBC guy anyway, so you're going back and they're keeping you guys busy doing other things in between the time of the show being canceled and Late Night being announced, right?
So yeah, I would do NFL, I would do NBC News, I would do, whatever programming needed to be done. I even did a few radio ads for radio, because we were on the second floor. The radio station was on the second floor in the middle,
Yep.
and that's where Stern was and all those guys.
I was just going to say WNBC,
Yeah, he
Don
was doing the
Imus,
afternoon
yeah.
drive time. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Um,
That's when he was good, I think. That's when he was best. When he
A
was doing
lot of
that
people say
afternoon
that.
thing at NBC. Yeah,
a lot of people say the best Stern was WNBC Stern.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and a bunch of people came out of that, like Janice Panino, who ran HR for.
Oh yeah.
You remember
Oh,
Janice?
yeah.
She was the head of the Page program back in the day.
Right, right.
But she also worked for the radio station there as well, and she went on to run the HR for Worldwide Pants. So
Oh,
so
man,
she
I didn't
came out
know
of
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she ended up when they moved over to CBS, they brought her over. She started in audience coordination, which makes some sense with her Page experience and all of that. And then Worldwide Pants was like, well, we're this company now, kind of, we're like a vendor to CBS. We need an HR.
Yeah.
We need all these things. And Janice finished up, and she did the entire run
Wow.
at CBS and finished up. Yeah, she was the one that was giving everybody their
Jeez.
last paychecks at the end. So
And what's she doing now?
happily retired, I believe. She
Nice.
she's been on the show. We've talked. She went and did some nonprofit work. You shouldn't say nonprofit work. There's a nonprofit theater project that she got to go and be a part of, and she loved it, partially because she wasn't sure if her skills, they were so Letterman centric for so long. She wasn't
Right.
sure if her skills would translate into the real world. And she was delighted when she found out that they
Wow.
did. And
Yeah.
she's, Janice is awesome. I like her very, very, very much. But yeah, she was around back then working for WNBC.
Yep.
Okay. So you're doing your thing, doing the NFL, doing anything, NBC's bidding. And suddenly it's like, okay, tomorrow's show is going away and late night was starting. Was that a big deal when you found out that tomorrow's show was going away?
No, it wasn't. Not for me. I mean, I'm sure it was for Tom and everybody. I mean, I was a big fan of Tom Snyder.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the time when it went away, I was in this. I was in everything. It didn't.
Yeah.
Right. But Tom Snyder was one of the all-time great interviewers ever. Incredible probing interview. He's so good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when he had the Sex Pistols on.
Absolutely.
And the Clash, and that kind of the Clash. By the way, what a performance! You have never heard music unless you've heard it in a TV studio. It is so good. And on SNL, I used to go up when we'd have dinner. I would wait to have dinner, but I would go and listen to the band for a sound check because they would do it when dinner started. So I would get dinner later, but I would hear Elvis Costello or whoever, Johnny Cash, and I'm 15 feet away. Talking Heads in Letterman. I was right there. So that was a highlight for me. Yeah.
I'm a huge music guy, and I could not agree with you more. You think about the music on late night and late show as well, of course, but with late night, it was just even a little bit tweaked a little bit more because you had this band aptly named the world's most dangerous band. And you would have these front men or front women from bands come in and jam with these musicians that weren't necessarily their normal bandmates.
Yeah.
And the stuff that they would put out, like, the obvious example is Springsteen doing Glory Days on the very last late night. I mean, that's with Paul and the band, absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
With Bruce, just with there in the guitar, and no E Street Band, but they're just going for it. I love that you went and saw some of this stuff and appreciated it in the moment, because it was all of these performances, whether it's SNL or late night, unique, a one-time off, a one-off of something. And they would make it special in so many different ways. Were you there the night James Brown showed up on late night?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. It was pretty incredible. In fact, when I came out, I actually bumped into him. He was a little shorter than me. And
but he had the platforms. So it helped a little bit.
Yeah, well, then how short is he? I mean, because but he can dance. He's
absolutely. Yeah, that was you talk to the band to this day, and James Brown is like up there for top moments of
Yeah.
of all time. And you think about how much good stuff. So you would go and watch the whether it's Saturday Night Live or late night, you would go and watch the music if you could.
Uh, yeah, whenever I could, if I wasn't working on something that had to be done, then I'm up there.
Yeah.
It was dinner break too, so
Yeah.
it was no big deal.
Um,
But you'd be having dinner next to Don Pardo, it
did
was
you
great.
talk to Don Pardo very
Oh my
much? Did
God,
you?
he's a cheese hound, he loves cheese. Yeah, but yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic. I
yeah.
any did you ever have an encounter with Andy Kaufman?
No,
Okay, you didn't. All right.
yeah,
That's one of my
I was afraid of him. Yeah, I wouldn't go near him. Not that I would have anyway, but yeah. Mm.
Okay, so you find out late nights showing up, the Tomorrow Show's going away, and here we go, we're retooling. How similar in your mind was the first year or so of late night compared to the morning show? Were there any, other than the bumpers themselves, were there any massive differences, or was it very similar in tone, in style, in the things that you had to do?
Um, from my point of view, it was a much more polished product, the late night,
Yep.
as compared to the morning show.
Mm-hmm.
But that's from my angle. Upstairs, I'm sure it's still you're professionals and you have to put this show on, and it's got to look really good. So the same uh, quality or same demands applied to the morning show as the late night. But that late night show was just right where it should be, and it was a completely different format too. So that helped. I mean, even just the sets.
Yep.
When late night as opposed to like a set like Regis and Kathy, that's the difference.
Yep.
It's morning versus night. I guess that's what that is.
Yeah, and I think the tone is there too. I think one of the reasons why Jay Leno didn't work at 10 was that tone doesn't work at 10.
Right. Yeah.
It
That's
just
right.
doesn't.
Yeah.
The Comedy
Yeah.
Central stuff that we see, with Colbert Report and Daily Show, yeah, they can go on a little earlier maybe, and because they come off as more of a news thing, but the late night talk show, I think it's late night for a reason. I think it's viewed best. I can think of times that I'd catch up on Letterman's that I maybe missed because I was out doing something or whatever. And you watch them during the day, they're still great, but they just don't have the same. There's something about that nighttime feeling.
Yeah.
And it's something that was engineered in there. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is, but there's something there where it just fits the tone of the night very, very well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I looked at an old show, the morning show the other day, and it was really hard to watch. I mean, it was funny, but just aesthetically, it was, yeah.
Well, it's funny because
Was that Kathleen Anchors then too? I forget.
Yeah,
Right?
I believe she did the morning show. Yes, I believe she was the morning show
Mhm.
and late night. I'm 99% on that. By the way, this is the Kathleen Anchors bridge behind us there.
Yeah.
That's from
Yeah.
Late Show.
She was great. My God.
The bits that they would do with her when she was the Peggy the
know.
Falmouth librarian, like just she's so great. And guys like O'Donnell have told stories about how she would teach them these words, these just archaic British words that we just haven't been uttered in centuries. And she would they would just roll off of her tongue, and they're just such funny words. And yeah, I'm glad anytime that we can have a positive word to say about Kathleen Anchors, we say it here. We take time to do that because go ahead.
On the second floor, there was a graphics department, and then the other end was all the set designers.
Right.
They had like Gino Seza and Frank Schneider and I forget Norm's, but Frank Skinner and Kathleen, and they were all there. But you would go see these models of the sets, and they would tell you, look at it from here, so you see how you're going to move through it. It's just fascinating to see them construct these sets and then be able to look at it with the camera's eye.
Yeah,
it was really interesting.
Did you have many encounters with Hal Gurney?
Yeah, he was a sweet guy. I mean, not work wise, but just if there was a party or something, he was just a really great human. And so if I met him outside of TV, I would never think of him as a TV guy. He was just down to earth. He was just really just a genuine human being. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
How long did you stay with late night for?
Oh, it's I think it was only 2 years. I
Yep.
think maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
I don't think I left in the middle of. I don't know when I left, but when I left, I went to Lorne Michaels' the new show.
Yeah, and I want to ask about that. Like,
That
how
was a
did that
weird.
happen? And
That
let's
was
talk a little bit about that because that's a footnote that gets glossed over a lot
Yeah.
in the annuals of television history.
Yeah, it
Lorne
was one
Michaels are going,
season.
yeah, one season. They're going,
And
50 years at Saturday Night Live next year. But there was that blip in the middle where the new show showed up,
Yeah.
and let's tell the viewers a little bit about that. What was that project?
Well, Lorne had left NBC, and
Yep.
that's when those 2 years Saturday Night Live without him, and then I think 3 years, and
Yep.
then he started this new, I guess, competition for Saturday Night Live. I don't know, but it was the new show. It was Dave Thomas. It was Franken and Davis. It was Alan Zweibel.
Yep.
I can't think of some of the other ones, but Alan Havey was on it. John Candy made appearances. You'd see Steve Martin was there. I mean, there were a lot of heavy hitters.
Like SCTV and SNL had a baby almost.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
like, but all these guys are there. All
Yep.
the guys that started SNL were there, and for some reason it just didn't click. It was in the Brill Building,
Yep.
and that was a cool building too, because I was in a room where could have been Carole King writing all her stuff. I don't know. The sixth floor had Johnny Marks. I used to go to the bathroom next to Johnny Marks, who wrote Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? He'd be standing there. There he is.
That's unbelievable.
And so that was a historic building too. And we had the sixth floor was me, and G.E. Smith used to come down and play his hollow-bodied Gibson.
Oh my God.
Because the
really?
graphics department was quiet. So I'd be working and he'd be playing on the sofa. And it's like, oh man, this is, yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Because he's pretty good. He's a good guitar player.
Just a little bit. For those who don't know, G.E. Smith, he ran the Saturday Night Live band for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
They even to the point where he was billed as G.E. Smith in the Saturday Night Live band all throughout the 90s. And I'm not sure exactly when he retired, but married to Gilda Radner too, was he not?
Gee, no, was he?
Maybe not. I might be wrong on that.
I never heard that.
That might be wrong. I might be wrong.
Let's start it. Let's start.
Yeah, let's start it. G.E. Smith
Yeah.
and Gilda Radner. So that's amazing. So.
But I worked with Eugene Lee, who was the first guy to create the sets for SNL.
Yep.
Keith Raywood, who took over SNL later on after Akira Yoshimura. Leo was his name when I first met him, but or we called him that.
Mm-hmm.
But and Ann Patterson, who's an amazing artist today. Those were the people in the creatives who I was working next to. It was just an honor to be there, and for some reason it didn't click. Yeah.
Was it difficult for you to leave NBC?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
The yes part is Lorne Michaels is a visionary, and I'm excited to do this. Was that part of the part where there was no hesitation?
I never really stayed one place for very long. I was always moving. I was always, it was a comfort zone. Maybe there's a bug in me that says, time to go.
Yep.
Whatever, but I just kept going, and that's when I opened the studio on Times Square.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that studio for a second here.
Yeah. Well, that was that we did a lot of theater posters. The only one I have left, I think I saw it in your list, is the Penn and Teller poster.
Yeah, I got it.
So
right
when
here.
they first came to, when they broke on Broadway, I did that poster. And what I loved about that was that Richard, I forget his name, he produced it with Art Wolf, Richard Frankel.
Yep.
I said, it'd be cool if you wallpapered this lobby with all these posters. and he did it, and it looked amazing. It looked amazing.
The whole lobby.
Yeah, every inch of that wall was covered in these posters. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what year would this have been? Okay, so where are we looking here?
I think,
Does it have a year?
80,
No, it doesn't have a year.
82 maybe, or 83 or something.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
very 80s font for sure.
Yeah.
That's a definite 80s font there. So that was the studio that you opened up, was to do Broadway posters.
Yeah, it was within an advertising agency.
Yep.
And I worked with a bunch of different artists, and I would bring freelance stuff in, but I did a lot of work for them. I mean, eventually it was just a lot of their shows they would present and stuff. And it was really creatively, creative freedom was amazing. So
Yep.
it was just fun. And that's the thing. It's like I've been lucky enough to do this work that I absolutely love. You know, it's not like punching a clock every day or something. Well, I did, but you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like you do what you
absolutely.
love and you'll never work.
Well, it's either an old Chinese proverb or one to make sound like one. If you monetize your
It's
passion, you
Chinese,
never.
I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
it's Chinese. Why not?
You monetize your passion, you never work a day in your life. Okay, so after that, when did you go to work for the Comedy Channel?
Oh, that was
Because Donick talked about that. He had some really
yeah.
nice things to say about you. Because there was a time in between his intern stint and coming back over to late night.
Well, he was an intern on late night, and then
Yeah.
when I went there, I think he was writing, right?
He ended up becoming a writer. Yeah, yes, that's right.
I think he was writing on the the Comedy Channel.
Yep, that's right.
But that was fun because that's where I met Nick Bakay and Alan Havey. I'd never met him on the new show, but he was on the new show. And you know, Scott Carter's Rich Hall was there.
Yeah.
The Higgins boys, Dave Higgins, Steve Higgins, who is Jimmy Fallon's second banana, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
one of the prolific writer in all of late night. Yeah.
And Rachel Sweet, she was a Stiff Records artist, and she had her own show called The Sweet Life. Yeah. But that was all of those guys went to LA, and a lot of them just said, "Why don't you come out here? It'd be great." So I went out there. That's when I went to LA.
So, okay, what year are we talking that you moved to LA?
91, I think.
91. Okay.
Yeah, because Hob, the MTV version of the Comedy Channel, they kind of, I don't know what happened, but the Comedy Channel was dissolving all around us. I'm like, I got to do something. So that's where, that bug came in, and I went to LA.
Culture shock going from New York to LA?
Yeah.
Yeah. You miss New York?
I did.
Yeah.
I always complained about it. And when I got there, I was not happy.
What was
I wish I stayed.
You know what? I've heard that a lot. I've heard that a lot. For various reasons. The location, of course, of New York being one of them.
The thing about New York is that, it's like the energy. You'd be sitting there on a Sunday morning with the New York Times and a cup of coffee, and you hear the city happening outside.
Yep.
And you're like, I got to get out. I got to go. There's stuff going on out there.
Yep.
And when I get to LA, you get in your car and you get to your destination and you're insulated. You're not bumping into people on the subway. You're not talking to strangers at an art gallery or a coffee shop. It's like you go there, you get your Starbucks, and you get back in your car and you go to your wherever you're going.
Yep.
And everybody was kind of insulated in LA. Great place to work, if you were working, but New York was so much more texture to me.
Yeah. I still feel that way. And I mean, I love LA. Don't get me wrong. My favorite hockey team in the entire world is the LA Kings. I'm a gigantic LA. I love a lot of the things and a lot of the people that are in LA. But New York owns my heart. Like, it literally owns my heart. The place is alive. I tell people who haven't been there, you don't understand. The city is alive. It has a pulse. You can feel, like you say, it has a feeling to it, an energy about it that is just so. And it is. Sleep is the enemy at that place, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to sleep. I always want to be up doing something when I'm in New York. Yeah,
I had a bunch of Japanese friends in New York, and we'd go out with them, and like after 2 o'clock in the morning, all the Japanese clubs open up in New York City.
Yeah.
And these are doors that you pass by all the time. And when you go down into these clubs, these piano bars, and you have all these, it was like hostess bars, and it was like insane. It was like Tokyo opened up at 2 o'clock in the morning in New York City.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah.
When you went to LA, what were some of the things that you worked on?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm dating myself.
No, not at all. There's a lot of people that look at that show as royalty as well. Like that's a huge iconic show for its time. And again, you know, a timestamp show for sure, but that is a gigantic show.
Yeah, I did some props for that. I did 2 movies. I did one called Speechless and one called The Web, I think.
The Web.
Yeah, with
is that Sandra Bullock? No.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there
so that
yeah.
There's a virus that comes onto a computer screen with an animated skeleton in revolutionary clothes and a guitar, and I did that animation. And then I did the whole campaign. Speechless was about 2 different political campaigns.
Yeah.
And I had to design both campaigns, and one was more Republican, one was more Democrat. So I had to make it feel, you know, but it was cool because I was designing graphics on buses. You know, it's like, think about what goes into a campaign.
Yep.
And I was designing all that stuff. So that was a lot of fun. That happened right on right across the street from the Formosa at the old Warner Brothers studios there.
Oh,
and that was the great thing about LA is that when you go onto a lot,
yep,
you know, like the MGM lot where Sony is now, you realize you're standing right in the middle of the, you know, where Gone with the Wind was shot.
Yep.
You know, that's the great thing about LA. Yeah.
Yeah, so the nostalgia that was in New York, that exists in LA as well. It's just in a different form, and these lots are certainly.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
But boy, that's starting to be crumbled away too. You've got all of these conglomerate corporations that are selling off these iconic pieces of property down there right now and getting rid of some of these amazing sets. The street that. Oh man, I want to say it's the Vacation movies and Gremlins and a whole bunch of iconic movies in the 80s and television shows going up. It's just this one street that they would use. They just tore it down. I forget the name of the street, Barnett.
Oh, on the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank?
Yeah.
So you'd go down, you'd see all these like the Brady Bunch Street or Seinfeld City Street. You know, it's magic. You know, it's the magic of movies, you know, and you sit there and you're like, oh my God, there's no back to that house, you know, and it's a whole neighborhood. And it's just, but again, all artisans putting this stuff together and just, it's, and when you're in the movie business, it's like, if you want to go to LA and you want to be an electrician, get in the movie business. You want to be a carpenter, get in the movie. It's a whole world where they need everybody.
Yep.
You know, everybody works in it, but it's so much fun to do it.
Are you in a union?
Huh?
Are you in a union?
No, I was at NBC. I had to join NABIT.
NABIT. What's that one? That's
a National Broadcast Engineers and National Association of Broadcast Engineers and Technicians, I think.
Okay, so it's it wasn't just artist centric. It was more of a potpourri of different jobs.
I think the cameramen, all the prop guys. I think they were all, you know, all the
does that add
guys.
politics? Does that add politics to your artistry? Being in a union, does that stifle things, the creativity at all?
I didn't pay attention to it. They took my dues out of my check once a year, I think, and that's all I knew. I think. I forget.
So you're not in LA now, right? You're further north, right?
Yeah, I'm in about 40 miles north of San Francisco.
Right. Okay. And how long you been there?
Since 2006.
Since 2006. Okay.
Yeah. We moved up here from LA.
What made just LA was just too much? Like, I mean, Northern California, you know,
I
the
was
Bay Area is
burnt
so
out,
beautiful.
and you know, my wife still works from up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we didn't want to raise kids in LA.
Yeah. No, I feel you. At that point, what was the type of did you transition into a different sector of art
Yeah, I
in a
came
different
up
place?
here, I planted a vineyard and got into the wine business because I've been drinking wine. Carson was the one that turned me on to California wines.
Yep.
In New York, I was drinking French wines. And then when I came out here, Carson introduced me. I think it was Cane 5 we used to drink. And great little wine shop in West LA called Dubon.
Mhm.
That is so it's like he satisfied my French Jones. You know, he had
Yeah.
all this French stuff there. And then when I came up here, I planted a vineyard, an acre of Pinot, and
Yep.
then I got into the business, and I do that. I'm a wine consultant.
I imagine that designing the wine labels would have been a lot of fun.
I did a wine label, and I did 3 great, but these guys they're a little flaky, and they're not, you know, they're not moving forward. So I'm done. It's over. But yeah, it is fun because you take I made a real kind of look, like a prop.
Yep.
And I gave it to them, and they flipped over it, but I haven't heard from them, so I don't know.
Where my wife and I are, we're in a place called Kelowna, British Columbia, and it's the wine country of Western Canada is where
Oh,
we
is it
are.
really?
Oh, very much so. Very
Wow.
much so. Yeah. From here right down to the border. The border is just I don't know the biggest city. Wenatchee, Washington. We're basically right on the border where Wenatchee is. And so it becomes desert just below where we are. And so I forget how many 300 wineries in a 180 mile radius, something like that.
Do you know what they plant?
Everything,
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. It's obviously a younger industry because it's only about 30 years old. So some of them are still considered young, but some of the older vintages are just unbelievable. Yeah, but everything like there's a different part of the valley that can basically utilize each type of grape. And so for some of the ones where you don't need the sun, they're further north. The ones
Right,
that
yeah.
absolutely that's the essential.
And you said there's a desert?
Just below us it becomes, and when you get to Wenatchee, Washington, that's considered desert as well, as all the way up to our side on the Canadian border. And so there's a couple smaller centers down there that are just basically all, if you look up at the hills, it's all grapes. And
Did you ever go to Skokie Lodge,
no, where's Skokie Lodge?
Lake Louise?
Oh, Lake Louise. Yeah, Lake Louise. There's a green in that lake that doesn't exist anywhere on the planet except for that lake.
Really?
It's unbelievable. It's
So
just
so on the other side of that lake is
Yep.
Skokie Lodge, which was built by the Mounties in the 20s, and it's still that. There's still no electricity. The food is amazing. It's an 8-mile ski in. Yeah. Skoki.
Yeah, no, we're gonna take a look at that for sure.
You can go in the summer, you can go in the winter. I'm not a great skier, so I think I have PTSD from that trip, but but it was amazing once you got there.
We have we're kind of like the Lake Tahoe of Canada where I am. So 45 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, world-class skiing. And then we're in a valley, and the lake, which is a 100-mile lake, has world-class water skiing and all of that stuff. And then in the hills behind us, world-class fishing and hunting and all of that. It just surrounds us. And so very, very, very blessed to be born here. And then in my lifetime, I've watched this wine industry just blossom up. And it's so fun. Like my wife and I, every Sunday, we have our granddaughter, and then she kind of goes home about noon. Almost every Sunday in the summertime, we are going to a different winery and having a wine tasting on a patio. And it's just such a fun lifestyle.
Right.
It's just so great.
Yeah. You get it helps you get through the day too.
It does. Do you have a favorite wine? A favorite type?
What are we eating?
Well, that's a good point. Okay, so say you got a nice steak coming.
Give me a big fat cab. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the right bank stuff that blends, Merlot blends, and
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a Syrah guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Rhone, you like Rhone.
Yeah. So and Cab Franc, I like Cab Franc as well. I got
a killer Cab Franc for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, there's a chance that in early May, I'm going to be taking a road trip from here down,
Okay.
to see Dave, perform, for the Netflix is a Joke Comedy Festival. So I'm that's the plan is in early May, I'm going to be driving down. I'm going to make sure either on the way down or the way through, let's go have a glass of wine together.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that'd
that'd be
be,
good.
yeah, absolutely.
Just
Okay.
keep me posted. Yeah.
I absolutely will. Well, okay, so are you world traveler? You've been going on some pretty amazing adventures around the planet. Is that are you going to be around in May, or are you going on another trip?
In the end of May, I'm going to Amsterdam
Yep.
with my daughter, and I'm going to be knighted. I'm going to become a chevalier. Yeah. And it's the second oldest wine brotherhood in the world. And it's like go back to the 1500s. And it's in Venlo, Netherlands, in the
Yep.
Netherlands.
Yep.
And I mean, these guys dress in hoods. You know, they got 1,000-year-old petrified grapevines as staffs. And they're gonna. I have a client. One of my clients is one of the members there, and he submitted me to be knighted. So I'll be doing that.
So you're going to be Sir Shortridge?
You're gonna kneel in front of me every time you see me. Yeah, that's right.
Before I wanted to get to the pop-up books here at the end here. Before I get to that, I can't wait to maybe have you on with Carson or something like that at the same time. Thank you very, very much for everything that you have contributed to the things that are in my generation's pop culture. And there's so many of them, and maybe they're subtle, but like again, Buh Weet Sings. I wanted that on a shirt. Thank you so much for everything that you have done to
Wow.
contribute to these amazing, iconic projects, Bill. We just so grateful for you.
That's nice to hear. Thank you. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because when you say it that way, it's like it puts it into perspective. You know, it's like yeah. A lot of
What you
people grew up watching that yeah. It was great.
Absolutely. What you guys did was important. And I say that without an ounce of like it's 100% authentic when I say that. What you guys did was important, and I'm so grateful. Let's go back and look at some of these pop-up books here, because and again, if
Huh.
the by the way, thanks to Don Giller for capturing these for us.
Yeah.
Really grateful. I wanted to maybe show some videos and things like that. We're just not quite at that place with Pants where we can just start showing clips and whatnot.
Right.
So screen captures is the better way to go. This is from the morning show, and what a writer would have come up to you and said, okay, we're going to do a pop-up book segment. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I forget exactly how it worked. But that's usually whether it was Ed, but these were so complicated that direct communication with the writers was probably how it went, but
Yep.
I really don't remember. But yeah.
Was
And I think it's watch this national treasure grow before your eyes or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Was doing a pop-up book where you pull a tab and manipulates the picture in the book, was that something that was in your wheelhouse, or were there things that you had to kind of was it a trial and error kind of a thing?
I remember when they told me about it, I went out and we got a bunch of we had, I think I forget who it was, Trip. I forget who the prop guy was, but they'd go out and they'd get as many different pop-up books as they can find.
Yep.
And then I would deconstruct them.
Right.
And I would find out how things work, because pop-up.
Yeah.
So and I would just replicate that. And when they'd bring it down to me, I'd try to figure out, well, what function
Yep.
would work better for this joke?
What
So
device
whether it's pulling a tab,
yeah, I got
and
you.
you'll see
Yep.
that, like with the Isadora Duncan, you're moving the Dave always had a problem with some props, and once something went south, it was over. But with the Isadora Duncan, yeah, there's a pull, so that's
So that's a pull down, and there's Johnny Carson on the
yeah.
TV
So it's
in The Joy of Sex.
yeah, I forget what it was like. Yeah, I forget the joke.
Oh, just yeah,
But
but I
Johnny
mean,
Carson, it's late night. Johnny
Yeah.
Carson, yeah.
yeah. Talk about a pop-up. The
You skip
Steinbrenner
this
one's
one.
funny. Well, we could skip it, but
Well,
it's
this
just
is here's
people
a
can
here's
see
a good
it.
example of how, a piece of art suffered because there was no time to do it. And here, like, I would have had much more detail in the background. I would have paid a little bit more attention to drawing the figures,
Yeah.
and just
But you
having a
can
little bit better contrast. But you can see the wheel there, that metal.
That's the wheel. Yeah, it
piece.
turns and puts different faces on.
Yeah.
And the obvious Steinbrenner joke.
So
And then it gets crazy, ridiculous because there's lamb
Yeah,
chop,
there's
and let's
lamb
put
chop.
lamb chop on. The story of mankind.
So this, yeah. So this is obviously, what's his name? Isaac Newton.
Yep. And there comes the apple.
All right. So you pull the tab. Now you pull this. This is the guy who invented the steamboat. Oh.
The operation of dreams.
Yeah, this was just that.
And then finally, the David Letterman story. And of course, predictably, he pulls the tab, and there's the gap in the teeth right there.
Yeah.
There's the iconic gap in Dave's teeth right there.
That got a big laugh.
I can imagine that it did. And again, we're going back, and I mean, Dave's teeth, the gap in his teeth, I mean, became this stereotype, caricature of Dave. That's the DNA. That's where it came from. Let's start making fun of it on the morning show.
Yeah.
And
That's
there's a
right.
prop
Yeah.
gag that, like, again, all in the DNA of this thing that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Bill, I can't thank you enough for doing this today.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Yeah.
Oh, I hope you had fun. I hope you had nearly as much fun as I did. We've been talking about it for a long time, and
It was all right.
okay, good. Thank you so much. I'll do a really quick outro, and then we'll say our goodbye privately if that's all right.
It's okay with me.
Okay. There we go, everybody. We got back to the beginning. Somebody finally, again, from the morning show, Bill Shortridge. We're so grateful for everything that he has done. And boy, it would have been great to have Bob Pook on here. And it's nice to hear Pook's name said so many times. Rest in peace, sir. We just appreciate all the work that all of you have done. Absolutely. And yeah, you know what? We got one sponsor only on the Letterman podcast. That's the Hello Deli. Go to hello-deli.com and you get Late Show with David Letterman mugs and shirts and all that fun stuff. This has been another episode of the Letterman Podcast with Mike Chisholm. Coincidentally, I am Mike Chisholm. Thank you and good night.
Overcoat and underpants.